I'm Kayla,
And I'm Haley.
and we majored in English for this.
For this,
Alright, this week we read The Red Scrolls of Magic by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Shue. And Haley,
woo! That's my initial thoughts.
yeah, today as we record this, it's exactly 1 year since the first episode premiered.
Oh my god!
And guess where we are again, guys?
Back in Idris, boy! Well, not technically Idris, I guess.
Yeah, but I'm gonna open my commemorative soda. Would have been better if I didn't botch that.
That's alright. Excellent.
Yes, okay. So, The Red Scrolls of Magic was published on April 9th, 2019. So, it's just under a year old.
Alright.
Let's talk about Wesley Shue for a hot minute, the co-author of this book.
Okay.
Wesley's a Taiwanese-American author, and has his own bibliography under his belt. He's a bit of a niche writer with a decent following. He's actually writing The Walking Dead Typhoon, which is about the events of The Walking Dead happening in Asia.
Okay.
And I came to realize something when I was discussing this book with my friend. I really feel like Cassandra Clare just wrote, like, the bare bones of this book, like the outline, and Wesley Shue wrote everything else.
Yeah.
Because the narrative voice is not Cassandra Clare. Like, there's good Cassandra Clare quips in there, but it's
Right.
not her.
Right. Yeah, it definitely seemed different. Like, just a different tone all around.
Yes. It also, these scenes are way steamier than anything Cassandra Clare's written.
They were quite steamy.
Like,
Even, like, not even... I mean,
The
the last
shower
scene
scene?
obviously was very steamy, but everything leading up to the end scene was also very steamy.
the shower scene.
Oh my god, yeah.
Ugh.
I didn't even, like, the last few weeks we haven't really been talking about, like, nothing's been too steamy. And then I realized this week, we're gonna
Steamy.
change that. It's gonna change that a little bit.
I think next week we'll also have some steaminess to it.
Mm-hmm.
Cassandra Clare, her character is horny.
Always.
Always horny. Okay, so this was our first time reading this book, obviously. The nostalgia factor, I miss them.
I know. Okay, full disclosure, I was never, like, a huge fan of just Alec by himself.
Yeah.
But he really came into his own in this book.
Yeah. I really did enjoy how very much it was just like, okay, who's Alec, like, without Jace or Izzy?
Right.
Because I feel like we've never really seen that. And
Right.
especially this is a very formative time with him and Magnus's relationship. It's always felt like it's Alec and Izzy, Alec and Jace, Alec and Magnus.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in this, it's very much like Alec and Magnus being like, so, what's going on?
Yeah. Yeah, it is like Alec and Magnus, but I also feel like it's, Alec on his own. Like, he's also growing up on his own and with his relationship with Magnus,
Yeah. He also feels way more mature here than he did in the actual books.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Hold on, I forgot I had to type something in the notes. But yeah, this was a fun book. I told Haley this felt like I was reading fan fiction in the best ways.
Right. Like, no shade, no hate, nothing.
No, we are fan fiction fans.
Right.
Fic fans.
Fic fans.
I don't know what that is. But so, like, there's definitely good fan fiction and bad fan fiction. This is like very good fan fiction.
Right. And I also feel like that's how it is when she has, I think I said this earlier in the week, but like when she has co-writers at all, it always feels like it's just because not quite the same as just her by herself.
And I think there's also the element that she usually works with people, one, that she's either friends with, admires their work, and they're also, so like there's that element, like she's friends with these authors, she admires their work, and then all those authors then have to become fans of the work to write those books. So there is that element of, you're coming in, you've read all of the backlog to be like, okay, I'm ready. What are my headcanons that I'm going to make canon?
For sure. Yeah. And so I like everything that I've read so far that she's, like, co-written with people. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's never been, like, out of left field, out of character bullshit. It's all been very good. Yeah. So, let's get into this book, Haley. I felt like this was a very low stakes book because you know nothing actually bad happens.
Right, you know nothing like sticks. You know what I mean? Like, you know nothing like follows them, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and then because like no one brings up the events of this book.
Right. Like, it was like all happened in secret.
Yeah. This also another thing that makes this feel like fan fiction. All the fan service of all your faves just showing up.
I know.
I texted Haley, it was like, all your faves are gonna show up in the middle of this book. Okay, let's get into this binge, shall we?
Let's do it.
Okay, we have 2 epigraphs, one chosen by CC and one chosen by WC. To desire immortality is to desire the eternal perpetuation of a great mistake. Arthur Schopenhauer. And then, now I see the mystery of your loneliness. William Shakespeare.
Ooh, okay. I like that one.
Part 1. City of Love. Oh. Missed this. I missed this. You know?
I know.
Look at us. Gosh. Okay. The quote here is, "You can't escape the past in Paris." Allen Ginsberg.
I really like that.
Yeah.
Dude, okay, sorry, real quick. We've had some qualms before with her choice of, what do you call them, epigraphs?
Yeah.
But all of them in this book were really fucking good.
I think it's probably because there was another writer in the room who could be like, no.
That doesn't quite fit, but yeah. Okay, sorry, go on.
Okay, so Magnus and Alec are in Paris on vacation. This takes place during the events of Book 4 of the Mortal Instruments series. We didn't mention that earlier. But,
Oops.
yeah. This does take place during that. Remember how in Book 4, we were just like, where the fuck was Magnus and Alec during all of this?
They were seriously just gone.
I don't know if you read the acknowledgments, but I want to talk about the acknowledgments.
Oh, no, I didn't.
In Night of the Living Author. Because she explains why that happened, because she had this book in the back of her mind. So.
Gotcha.
Okay. Magnus wants to cherish Alec, and that's what this vacation is for. A brief respite from the grief they experienced from the mortal war. Also, they haven't had sex yet. And they're both kind of concerned.
When I heard that, I was like, what? I was so shocked.
Well, like, if you think about it, when did they really have time?
That's
leading
true.
up to the mortal war.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. They're going on a date in a hot air balloon, and Magnus offhandedly mentions when he tried to save Marie Antoinette. And I was like, oh, that good callback. Alec spots some Ilbis demons being chased by Parisian shadow hunters and helps them out, to Magnus's annoyance. The boy just can't stop working.
He's driven by duty.
So, the demons get killed, their balloon crashes, but a fresh change of clothes and dinner somewhere else is easy to manage. They go on a walk after dinner, and there's this sensual scene where Magnus and Alec are discussing his runes, and Magnus is kissing them. Ooh. It was very spicy. And then they hurry back to Magnus's apartment, possibly to fuck. And guess who's there? Our girl, Tessa Gray.
The one and only.
And Magnus is like, the fuck, Tessa? And Tessa's like, you walked in on me and my husband under a mountain fortress 100 years ago, so shut up. Good callbacks. Okay, anyways.
God, I loved it.
Tessa's there because the Spiral Council has issued a formal demand that you, Magnus Bane, High Warlock of Brooklyn, neutralize the human cult of demon worshippers known as the Crimson Hand. Immediately. And then Magnus is like, that's a joke of a cult. Y'all know that, right? And Tessa says, not anymore. They be killing. And rumor has it they're being led by their original leader again, Magnus Bane. And Magnus
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go.
Am I the only idiot that was like, nothing bad's gonna happen in this book? Like, I seriously straight up thought it was just gonna be a romance.
Oh,
I was very, very sorely mistaken.
There is, in fact, some violence and some daddy issues in this book.
For sure.
Which is my theme, is daddy issues. I just need you to be aware of that.
That's probably really accurate.
Magnus is like, whomsiv? And then realizes he has vague memories about him and Ragnar joking about creating a cult. But then, like, they're vague in the way that they've been tampered with, not from it being so long ago. And he's just like, I might have done this.
I might have done this, and someone may have made me forget about it. I hope it wasn't me.
Yeah. So, Tessa says the Crimson Hand is growing more powerful, and they have a holy book called The Red Scrolls of Magic. So, Magnus is like, I'll look into it. And Alex is like, yeah, we will look into this, because my parents can't find out about this.
We have to stop this before it gets out of hand. Out of Crimson Hand. Nice.
Yeah. Some good little Alec moments. One, he first says, did you two used to date? And both Magnus and Tessa are just like, gross. And then when he's looking at Tessa, he's like, do we know each other? And she's like, no. Anyways, moving on. Magnus is going over all of his documents and memories to see if he can find the hole in his memories that is the creation of the Crimson Hand. So Alec goes and explores Paris alone. He calls Izzy and asks her to do some secret research on the Crimson Hand. And then Alec suddenly realizes who Tessa reminded him of. Jace.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah. So Alec asks...
Can we really quick talk about why Tessa doesn't want to be involved with the Herondales? Like, the one Herondale left?
She does mention it. She does say why she keeps her distance from him. It's because... I think it's also going to be... We're going to talk way more about that next week in Ghost of the Shadow Market. Is that after Will died, like, he was her main tether to shadow hunting besides her children, and they were grown at that point. And so she really kind of spiraled and drifted and wandered and ended up at the Spiral Council. And then her kids died, and then her grandkids died, and then so she just got very absorbed in her work. And then she looked up during the rebellion of Valentine's Circle and realizes that her family's involved in that. That Stefan Herondale was in Valentine's Circle. That her direct descendant wanted to kill all Downworlders. And you know, that might, like, fuck with you a little. And then she has to come...
I guess, I don't know, just if it was... Obviously, this could never be the real world, but, like, if my mom was immortal, she would, like, watch my nieces and nephews grow up and then their kids, and she would just, like, I just know she would, like, want to be involved. I just feel like, I don't know. But I feel this is obviously not real.
I feel like also, I feel like it was a kept secret. I feel like, was Steven's dad named Marcus? I feel like that's what his name was. Because it goes, Will and Tessa had James. James had his son Owen. And then I believe Owen had his son Marcus. And Marcus had Steven, who had So I think probably Marcus knew about Tessa.
Mm-hmm.
but Steven, like, went off into the deep end.
Right.
Before they could be like, hey, we got demon blood.
Yeah, probably they also, well, I wonder, like, whatever.
Because Imogen, remember, she knew the story about the angel mark that Jace has.
Right, yeah. And also, like, whatever happens with James, probably, like, because he's got secret powers, so
Yeah.
they probably just want to keep it a secret just in case, like, anything bad happens.
Yeah, so I feel like there's that, and, like, she, like, also, because then when Stephen died, Marcus killed himself when his son died.
Right. So,
Well,
like,
he
who was
like
there
died.
to
Yeah,
say anything?
so that, like, and then also Stephen's wife Celine, who was pregnant, killed herself as well. So Tessa in the 90s had to deal with this whole breakdown of the fact that all of her descendants are dead. All of them are dead.
Right.
And then finds out, actually, no, one of them is still alive. And I very much imagine she was very scared for a long time to meet Jace, because...
Probably. And just, like, torn, like, he grew up thinking this, now he knows this, so it's just, like, it would be weird.
And also because for not until the very end of Mortal Instruments did Jace actually start calling him Jace Herondale. He called himself Jace Lightwood for a long time. So I feel like that was also like, well, like, how will she feel about just, like, show up and be like, hey, I'm your grandma.
Hey, I'm your grandma.
And you have had the best track record with family.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, okay, anyways, back to the actual plot of this book.
Let's go.
Okay, so Alec asked Jace for sex advice, but Jace is also very clueless. And then Alec says, put Isabel back on the phone. And then there's this scuffle where Jace is like, wait, oh no, I remember, I don't know what he wants to ask. And as he's like, you've missed your chance. So Alec gets back to the apartment, and then Magnus is like, I think I figured it out. He remembers a specific night in detail with him and Ragnar joking about founding a cult. But then the next memory he has is 3 years later when they go to South America. So somewhere in there is possibly the creation of the Crimson Hand. The creation
and casual running of the cult.
Yeah, you know. Just need a cult, you know? So, Alec is going to help Magnus, whether Magnus likes it or not, because shutting down demon worship cults is, like, part of being a shadow hunter.
It's kind of like what they do.
They go to the Parisian shadow market, and everyone there is like, fuck shadow hunters. Magnus goes to see, Ping Fang, a vampire who deals in the selling of blood, but he won't talk to Magnus once he sees Alec. So Magnus and Alec split up, Alec shadowing him from a distance, and Magnus gets some info. No luck, but then Magnus sees Johnny Rook.
Rook the Crook.
Rook the Crook, who says that the Crimson Hand worships Asmodeus. You know, Magnus's dad.
You remember that guy.
And then Magnus, like, starts to doubt, like, why would I make a cult that worships, like, the dude I fucking hate? What's that
Literally
about?
the worst person to exist.
Yeah. Johnny has more info for a price. Magnus gives him an ointment to block the attention of the Nephilim. What was that? Is that ointment for Kit?
I think it's for Kit, yeah.
How did he explain the ointment?
Son, I'm gonna need you to lather yourself up in this.
Yeah. So Johnny says that the Crimson Hand keeps their holy book in the chamber of their secret sanctum in Venice, and Johnny learned all this from Morishu, a warlock and former member. During all this, Alec has his own adventure in the shadow market. He fights some seemingly human lady behind the stalls, and she's a warlock, and gets away. Anyways, they're going to Venice now, via the Orient Express. But there's a lot of downworlders on the train, all going to a party in Venice that Magnus was not invited to. And
He is
Magnus
very salty.
He's very salty. Alec and Magnus have dinner on the train, discuss their fathers, and after dinner they go to their train car. It gets very steamy in the shower. before a fucking Dravok demon shows up.
God.
So then there's this battle scene with demons that involve Magnus getting yoinked out of the train, and a rooftop chase scene. You know, everything that happens in a train. Not once have I ran across the roof of a train, and I've ridden many trains. I would like to once.
Just once, please.
Just once. So Alec follows him, then that warlock from the market shows up and, like, kills the demon. Then Alec passes out from demon poison. The next day, Alec wakes up, him and Magnus discuss mortality, and then we meet the warlock. Her name's Shin Yoon Jung? I think it's Jung?
I think so.
I know it's definitely Shin Yoon. So Shin Yoon is after the Crimson Hand. She heard that Magnus made it, and bada bing, bada boom. So Shin Yoon's on the team now, and on to Venice. Maybe more romantic than Paris.
Not sure about that.
No. So part 2, City of Mass. We got a quote from Lord Byron. Venice once was dear, the pleasant place of all festivity, in the revel of the earth, the mask of Italy. Okay. So they're on their way to Venice. Shin Yoon and Alec are they are in Venice. Sorry. Shin Yoon and Alec are becoming fast friends because they both hunt demons. They're going to search the abandoned HQ of the Crimson Hand, and at the HQ they find out that a downworld party is going to be held. A warlock bought the building when it went on the market last week, and they're celebrating the fall of Valentine. There's a shopping montage, and now it's party time. Fucking Malcolm Fade is the one throwing the party. Fuck Malcolm! Kill this dead bitch! Ugh!
What if... Oh my gosh. Sorry, someone just drove past with the deepest, loudest bass I've ever heard in my life. Yikes. Okay, but yeah, fuck Malcolm Fade. We hate him.
We do not stand Malcolm Fade.
I wish I could. Like, I really wish I could.
Like, I think he was just the perfect character that CC made, because you do not suspect him as the villain until, like, the end of Lady Midnight.
Right.
You straight up do not suspect him.
Yeah. And then when you do, like, everything makes fucking sense.
Okay, then Katarina Loss arrives. Oh, I love Katarina. And so Magnus gives her the quick rundown of what's going on, and she's like, I told you and Ragnar not to start a cult, but you did.
I just love that Magnus was like, why didn't you stop me? You usually stop me.
And she's like, I was busy. Anyway, so Magnus, Shin Yoon, and Alec are looking for the entrance to the chamber. Magnus stumbles upon Hypatia Vex. We know her.
Okay, I thought she was a warlock, but I'm pretty sure it says somewhere in here that she was a fairy?
No, she is a warlock.
Okay, then there was definitely a typo, because it said the fairy Hypatia, so...
Oh, no.
That was a typo.
She a warlock.
She a warlock.
She was hanging out with some fairies when Magnus stumbled upon her. So she gives some info to Magnus. The rumor that he's in charge of this Crimson Hand is spreading, and she warns him that this could all potentially harm and to reconsider their relationship. Magnus and Shin Yoon regroup, and she tells him this. I trust you with this one. You can do with it with whatever you please. She turned to face him. I used to be part of it. The Crimson Hand is mostly a human cult, but they recruit warlock children. Shin Yoon's voice turned wiry. There was a time when I used to worship you, the great poison, holy founder and prophet of the Crimson Hand, the worshippers as Asmodeus. Nobody ever tried to summon Asmodeus in those days, of course, said Shin Yoon. That's a new wrinkle. But we talked about him all the time. Every orphaned warlock child was his child, the cult said. I thought of myself as his daughter. Everything I did was in his service.
Yuck.
Yuck. Anyway, so Alec be searching. He finds a boy hanging out. And guess who that boy is? Rafael Santiago! Any chance to bring him back, Cassandra Clare will take.
Seriously.
Like, there are definitely characters where she's just like, I should not have killed this character off.
What is any excuse to write them back in?
Yeah. Raphael hates parties, and him and Alec mock Simon, who's not even there, unprovoked. And Raphael says, I think Isabel could do better. Lily Chin is also at this party. I got a quote. Where is it? Hold on. Oh, the vampire girl relaxed slightly. Oh, right, you're Magnus's latest disaster, she said. That's what Raphael calls you. I'm Millie. She lifted a hand half-heartedly in a wave. Alec glanced at Raphael, who arched his eyebrow at Alec in an unfriendly way. Didn't realize Raphael and I were on pet name terms, said Alec. He continued to study Raphael. Do you know Magnus well? Hardly at all, said Raphael. Barely acquainted. I don't think much of his personality, or his dress sense, or the company he keeps. Come away, Lily. Alexander, I hope I never see you again. I've decided I detest you, Lily told Alec. It's mutual, Alec said dryly. Raphael and Magnus are like best friends!
Oh, man, I love that.
Like Raphael and Ragnar were like super tight bros. Which is very sad because Raphael's definitely texting Ragnar's dead phone. It's very sad.
Yeah, it is very sad.
But I just like how Raphael was like, I don't like Magnus. We gotta go. Bye. I'm not definitely very good friends with him and think a lot of him or anything.
Oh, boy.
So Alec heads down to the basement and sees two shadow hunters poking around. One of them he saw earlier making out with Lily Chin. You know who it was? Helen Blackthorn.
For some reason, Helen reminded me a lot of Emma in this book. I don't know why.
I think probably because Helen partially raised Emma.
Could be.
And Emma like based part of her personality on Helen.
Yeah.
Okay. So even Helen is like, I heard Magnus is leading this cult. She wants to take him to the Rome Institute and interrogate him. But the dude with Helen, Leon, big fan of Alex's work. And I was like, nah, we're not doing that.
God.
He even says, big fan of your work. And I'm just like, what's going on here?
Leon was a bit of a creep.
Yeah. Guess who's the DJ, Haley? Bat!
Bat the werewolf.
He just rolls up. Does he have gigs across the world? Like, what is he
Seriously,
doing?
like, how are all of these New York people here?
Just having fun, partying. You know how it be. There's so many good feelings about this party, you know?
I know.
Alec and Magnus slow dance, and just as they start to get hot and steamy, of course, a fight breaks out. Barnabas Hale, we know him, shows up. And he's big mad at Malcolm Fade because apparently Malcolm doesn't actually own the mansion they're partying in. Barnabas does, and he was going to throw a Barnabas bash or Barnabash.
Barnabas.
And
Malcolm got the High Warlock of LA, and Barnabas wanted it.
So, Barnabas and Malcolm start fighting. They begin to wreck the place. Alec is focused on evacuating everyone, and Magnus is going to try to stop the fighting. Bat gets a concussion, and Alec tells Lily to watch him, and Raphael's like, no, put him down. I don't want to put him down, Lily announced. The Shadow Hunter gave this DJ to me. There's also this slight plot line about one of the other vampires from New York named Elliot, who's just doing a lot of bad stuff, and every time he sees Alex, he's like, I'm definitely obeying the Accords. Don't mind me.
I'm definitely doing everything. And Lily's like, obeying the Accords and following all the laws is one of the best ways we know how to party.
And Alex just like, I don't care.
I do not care.
So Alec goes back to find Magnus / evacuate more people, gets Elliot the vampire and Lily to yeet him onto the second floor balcony. Alec gets trapped by the house. Then Shin Yun shows up and tries to free him, but then Malcolm and Magnus get there and Malcolm ends the spell trapping him. And then they find the body of Maury Shu, who could have given them answers, but he's dead.
Yep.
Alec tells Raphael to spread that Magnus did not create the Crimson Hand. And then they exchange numbers. I love Raphael. I miss him so much. Anyways, Magnus, Alex, and Shin-Yoon aren't done yet with searching the mansion. They still can access the basement, so on they go. They find the secret passage, then find the stone goat Johnny told Magnus about. He whispers Asmodeus into its ear and opens sesame. They find the altar, knows it's the right place. There's blood on the walls and everything. There's a big painting of, I guess, who's supposed to be Asmodeus.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Because he's got the pointy teeth like Asmodeus.
Yeah. Magnus does a spell to try to find out what's going on, but only gets this. Of course, only 3 were vivid enough to materialize into something discernible. One was a stained glass window that was no longer here, portraying someone who looked an awful lot like Magnus being fanned with palm leaves. One was of 2 figures kneeling in prayer, an adult and a child both smiling. One was a woman standing over the altar, holding a long crisp knife. Then there were faces, too many twisted in agony. He saw mundanes and even a couple of warlocks, but mainly he saw fairies. Fairy blood. The blood that could be used to call up greater demons. So then they find the Red Scrolls of Magic. The holy book for the Crimson Hand. Here are some tenets, everyone. Only the great poison, he who is handsome, and wise and charming and handsome, can lead the faithful to Edom, to cater to the great poison with food and drinks and baths and the occasional massage. The prince wishes only the best of his children, thus to honor his name, there must be an earth crowded with only the finest of liquors and cigars and bonbons. Types of treasure and gifts showered upon the great poison symbolize the love between the faithful to keep the spirits flowing and the gold growing. Always remember the sacred rules. Life is a stage, so exit in style. Only the faithful who make a truly great drink shall be favored. Offend not the great poison with cool deeds or poor fashion. Seek the children of demons. Love them as you love your Lord. Do not let the children be alone. In times of trouble, remember, all roads lead to Rome.
God,
Alex looked at Magnus, and Magnus could not entirely understand Alex's small smile. I think you wrote this. You think?
It's like Magnus's manifesto. Magnus's magnum opus.
Yeah, his Magnus opus.
Is it Magnus? Magnum. That's a condom.
No, it's Magnum. It's Magnum opus. But I made the joke that it was his Magnus opus.
It would be way more clever to just say Magnus opus. All right. God.
Okay, so Magnus did do this. He did all this, but obviously originally as a joke, but it still spiraled out of control enough for his memories to be wiped, and the cult is killing people.
Most definitely killing people.
Most definitely. So they're going to Rome next. Magnus rents them a sports car, and on they go. So they stop in Florence. And Izzy calls. She found an original manuscript for the Crimson Hand that includes art of Magnus. And she's just like, what's going on? And Alex is like, don't ask questions.
Do not ask questions.
The next night they camp in the mountains. Magnus tells Alec about his childhood, his mother's death, how his stepfather tried to kill him, and so Magnus killed his stepfather. The Silent Brothers eventually found him and taught him to control his magic. Then they introduced him to Ragnar Fell, who taught him more. Then he saved Katarina from being burned alive at the stake, and then the 3 were fast friends. Alex says that Magnus has spent his whole life trying to save others, and that he formed the Crimson Hand. Yes, out of jest, but then there's also the line about protecting warlock children. Not to recruit them, just protect them. So, part 3, City of War. When Rome falls, the world shall fall. Lord Byron. Lord Byron? You know Rome had already fallen at that point that you wrote that?
It already done failed.
Like, you were living in the 1800s, my guy. You've been new.
Maybe it was in a fictional setting.
Yeah. Okay. They get to Rome. Shin-Yoon has her own investigating to do. Alec and Magnus make out again, and then they almost fuck. Both of them horny. But Alec is like, wait. We should wait until they're both actually happy and not stressed, and not also just because Shin-Yoon is gone. And Magnus begrudgingly agrees. Alec is also just like, horny. So Alec is gonna go to the Realm Institute and get more weapons and do some more recon. So Alec, who is in fact still horny, I cannot emphasize enough how horny Alec is. Like, he's just like, I turned the car around like 3 times and I fucked up the side of it, but like, I got things I gotta do that's not fucking my boyfriend, but I really want to fuck my boyfriend. So, he goes to Rome Institute and sees Aline Penhallow.
You love to see her.
You love to see her, and apparently, he's better friends with Aline than we previously knew.
Yeah, so like before, like 3 different times, he's like, I never really had any friends except like Izzy and Jace, well, and Aline. And then another time he's like, I just never really got around to talking to people much except, Jace and Izzy and Aline. It's like, come on. It's like...
Yeah. Well, I guess probably because Izzy wasn't friends with Aline. And Jace does not notice people unless they benefit him. So, well, no, Izzy and Aline were good friends. But then, like, all the times we saw Aline was, like, Clary being, like, jealous.
Right. So, it's kind of hard to judge.
Yeah. Okay. So, he gives Aline the quick and dirty about the Crimson Hand. So, they go to the Institute. Then Helen is there, confronting Alec. And then Helen and Aline meet for the first time. And Helen is suspicious, and Elaine's just like, get over yourself. Leon is there, and he hits on Alec, and Alec is just like, I have a boyfriend, and then Helen is like, stop hitting on people, Leon. He's just like, but life is short, and I am handsome, and French. Aline
don't
is
forget
also...
it's Leon Verlac.
Is that supposed to mean something to me?
Sebastian Verlac is who Sebastian Morgenstern killed and stole the identity of. I imagine they're cousins of some kind.
Oh, yuck.
Yeah.
Okay. Aline's also high-key interested in Helen. Okay, so, God, guys, I'm sorry I keep clearing my throat. I'm not editing any of that out. Okay, they have a lead about where to catch the Crimson Hand. Shinyu gets Magnus because she has a lead as well. They're going to a bathhouse to meet up with one of her contacts. She gets some info. They chat some more. Kind of not trusting her at this point. Like, something about this, like, really hit me in the, ooh, I don't like what's going on here.
Yeah, I agree.
Especially because Magnus's phone breaks. But they're going to a place where the Crimson Hand is going to meet up, and Shin-Yoon tells Alec where they're going, and so Alec and Ko are rendezvousing with them at a location. But the location that Alec, Aline, and Helen go to is not the location we know that Magnus and Shin-Yoon are going to. And Magnus is late. So Alec calls Raphael, who confirms a theory. Mori Shu, remember him, he died. The theory was that he was killed by vampires. No, he was killed by a Samgatto. The same blade that Shin-Yoon carries. Alec realizes that Shin-Yoon leads the Crimson Hand, and this is a ruse to get a hold of Magnus.
Also, she added a tenant to the fucking Red Scrolls.
Yeah, all roads lead to Rome.
Like, it's not even that good. She's not even creative.
Yeah. So, as they get ready to leave this location, Alec, Aline, and Helen are trapped by fire demons. Then Shin-Yoon traps Magnus so she can sacrifice him. Page 254. I got a quote. I had been buried alive for 4 days when the Crimson Hand rescued me. They told me Asmodeus had sent them to rescue his daughter. My father's people saved me, because my father is always watching me. My mortal family betrayed me, and I slaughtered them. Asmodeus is the only one who loves me, and all I have to love. I have transformed the Crimson Hand from a mockery to a reality, and it is time to destroy the last insult. It is time to remove you, great poison. I will kill you for insulting Asmodeus. I will sacrifice your immortal life to him, and let him loose upon this world and sit by his side for all eternity, as his beloved daughter. Yeah, about that, said Magnus. If you had the power of a prince of hell, I would have noticed. If any warlock alive had the power of Prince of Hell, they would already rule this world, Shin-Yun told him impatiently. All warlocks are Asmodeus' children, if they prove themselves worthy. That's what the Crimson Hand taught me. So you've adopted Asmodeus, Magnus said? Or he's adopted you? So Magnus gonna die. So they're gonna sacrifice Magnus, and he rounds, and he figures out around here that Alec is also probably maybe dead. But, can't keep a shadow hunter down. The shadow hunters kill the fire demons, and then they begin tracking down Magnus, because apparently horny Alec took a piece of Magnus's clothing when he left.
Just stuffed his scarf in his back pocket.
You know
how horny boyfriends be.
It's sacrifice time, and Magnus is trying to figure his way out of it, but Shin-Yun wants to kill him and take his place as Asmodeus' daughter, the cursed daughter.
Terrible.
So the ritual starts, and Magnus can only think of Alec. Alec, Aline, and Helen get there as the ritual is getting in full swing. They fight their way to the amphitheater where Magnus is being sacrificed. During the ritual, Magnus gets his memories back. He did create all of this with his father at the center of it as a joke. A bad joke, because Magnus's life was a bad joke. Until his actual father shows up.
Oops.
Thank you for collecting these followers for me, he hissed at last. Be sure I'll put them to good use. Sweat poured down Magnus's face. Once again he fought to speak, and once more he failed. Asmodeus flashed his rows of sharp teeth. As for you, like any erring child, your insolence must be punished. Nor will you remember what you have done, or learn aught from it, for the memory of the righteous is a blessing, but the name of the wicked will rot.
And then he snaps his memories away.
Yep. So Shin-Yun tries to kill him, but instead she's trapped in her own pentagram. Bernard was standing just outside the pentagram, watching them with a certain anticipation. Shin-Yun hissed at him. What is the meaning of this? Bernard gave her a small, mocking bow. My sincerest apologies, cursed daughter. The thing is, though, we realize you belong to our more militant and murderous fringe. This cult has always been about hedonistic pleasure rather than the strict dedication to evil. The Crimson Hand have agreed that we do not want to obey your joyless rules or live under your rather too stern leadership. My, said Magnus mildly. Do you disagree, Great Poison? Asked Bernard. By no means, Magnus said. Let the good times roll. But apparently, Bernard's been speaking to Asmodeus, and they're staging a coup. And they're gonna sacrifice both warlocks to get, Asmodeus in this world. Alec, Aline, and Helen are making their way down the steps to get to Magnus, and Magnus is happy, but he knows it's futile because Asmodeus rules this cult. Then Asmodeus starts to arrive. He kind of possesses Bernard and tells Alec to find his Magnus, but 100 Magnus Banes were fighting for their lives against 100 Shin-Yun Jungs. All were identical. 100 Magnus Banes in white robes stabbed another 100 Shin-Yuns, and any of them could have been the real Magnus. The one on the ground, waiting for the killing blow, might have been the real Magnus, desperately needing Alec's help. Or the one winning the fight could be the true Magnus, only for Alec to kill him by trying to help him. An ingenious bit of magic, I do say so, the demon said through Bernard. Clever, but at the same time very cruel, for it does offer you hope. All you need to do is recognize the true Magnus Bane. Isn't that always the way it is in fairy tales? The prince can tell his true love even when she is transformed. A swan among other swans, a pebble on a beach of sand. Bernard chuckled. If only the world were a fairy tale, Nephilim. So, cut to when Asmodeus first got there. Shin-Yun didn't realize that Magnus was actually Asmodeus' son, and not, figuratively.
Like she is.
Yeah, and Asmodeus used this whole thing just to talk to Magnus. You don't write. You don't call. You don't make sacrifices on my altar. And then we get this big quote. I have had many children in this world, Asmodeus said. Almost all have disappointed me. A few have proved useful for a little while, but they were hardly worth the trouble. Their powers were extinguished, or their minds broke after a century. 2 at the most. The children of greater demons can be very powerful, but they are seldom stable. I waited a long time for a true child to be a curse upon this world, and I eventually gave up. My children have been unable to thrive in this world or any other, weak lights begging to be put out, not worthy of me. But you're strong. You fight. You sought me out with a scream that could have torn a world apart. You spoke and the blood of angels listened. You have cut doorways through the worlds. You have performed feats you did not realize were impossible and continued merrymaking on your way. I have watched you for a long time now. Demons can feel pride. We are rather good at it. My son, I am proud of you. And then Asmodeus shows Magnus a vision. It's when his stepfather came to kill him. Asmodeus gave Magnus the spell to save his life, and since then he has been Asmodeus' favorite son. His eldest curse.
Yes.
Get it? That's the book series name? The Eldest Curses?
Correct.
So, like,
So,
I did a peace sign.
Probably maybe find some of Magnus's half-siblings, you think?
I don't know. I feel like these are the Malik books. I'm pretty sure these are coined as the Malik books, so.
Well, I know, but they can do that together.
Or it's just about, because the next book is called the White Book of the Death and the Black Book of the Living. I think that's what the next 2 books are.
Okay.
So, whatever that's about. Okay. So, Asmodeus gives Magnus a chance to kill Shin Yun, and Magnus is like, nah. And then so Asmodeus is like, well, I can always adopt. And now Shin Yun gets a chance to kill Magnus. So she launches herself at Magnus, and he takes it, ready to die. Anyways, Alec figures out in this moment which one is Magnus, and shoots down Shin Yun and gives his strength to Magnus, who sends Asmodeus home. It rips a huge hole in the ground, and it's all Alec can do to hold Magnus and Shin Yun, who is gripping him in this world. Then Eileen and Helen help pull them up, and then the amphitheater blows up, and then the Rome Institute is there, and it's cleanup time. Alec decides to release Shin Yun so that she won't be killed, and that she might reform herself. Alec, Magnus, and Eileen and Helen come up with their plan of what to tell the Institute. Be like, we don't know what's going on here. We just showed up. Don't include us in the official reports. Bye. And then Eileen asks Helen out. Like we didn't know that was going to happen. Bernard is captured, though, so there's at least that.
And he's like, I was the leader. It was me all along.
And they're just like,
so they're like, well, I guess we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah. Epilogue. City I call home. New York is the most beautiful city in the world. It is not far from it. Here is our poetry, for we have pulled down the stars to our will. Ezra Pound.
Cute.
Yeah. So, before they leave Rome, Magnus calls Tessa and gives her the rundown of what happened, so the Spiral Council can, get off his back. And then he asks her about loving a shadow hunter. Magnus was the one who hesitated. Can I ask you something? You loved a shadow hunter. Do you think I stopped? When you loved a shadow hunter, were you ever afraid? I was always afraid, said Tessa. It's natural to be afraid of losing the most precious thing in the world, but don't be too afraid, Magnus. I know warlocks and shadow hunters are very different, and there is a divide between your worlds that can be hard to cross, but as someone once said to me, the right man will not care. You can build a bridge over the divide and find each other. You can build something much greater than either of you could ever have built on your own. There was a silence after she spoke, as both thought of the ages that they had already seen pass and the ages to come. The sunlight was still bright through the window outside Magnus's Rome hotel room, but it would not last. Magnus said reluctantly, "But we do lose love, in the end. We both know that." "No," said Tessa. "Love changes you. Love changes the world. You cannot lose that love no matter how long you live, I think. Trust love. Trust him."
Oh, my God. Just even the thought of Will and Tessa just makes me tear up, dude.
I know things that happen goes to the shadow market, so that's why I'm just very much just like,
yeah.
Okay. So, Magnus and Alec portal back home to Brooklyn. They're supposed to have a few more weeks left of their vacation, but instead they stage all of the pictures and spin it in Magnus's apartment. And finally, they fuck for the first time.
Alec is straight up like, if we don't do this right now, I'm jumping out the window.
We've been cock-blocked too many times.
And it's very sweet.
And then Shin-yoon goes home. She goes into her basement. And there's a green warlock kept in a cage. And she beats the shit out of him and says, "You have no choice. Nobody's coming to save you," she said, cold and sure. "You're all on your own, Ragnar fell. Everybody thinks you're dead." What? Are we gonna find out how the fuck Ragnar's still alive in these books? Because I have been asking questions for many books at this point.
Yeah, what was it? Queen of Air and Darkness or Lord of Shadows where he popped back
He
up?
first showed up in Lord of Shadows, and we're just like, is that Ragnar Fell?
Excuse me?
And then Queen of Air and Darkness is just like, yeah, I'm Ragnar Fell. And we're just like, but then Magnus isn't just like, the fuck? So, what happens?
So obviously in the Malik books, he has to find out that Ragnar's still alive.
Yeah. But then, like, I follow up with the fact that, why the fuck does Shin-yoon have him in a cage in her basement?
Well, because here's my theory. Shin-yoon wants Ragnar to help her kill all the eldest curses. The eldest curses being Asmodeus' real children.
No, maybe. Okay.
I think that's what these books are going to be about. That's just what I think.
Yeah. Well, cause let me look it up for realsies because I speculated about the names, but let me look it up for sure. The eldest curses. Okay, it's going to be Red Scrolls of Magic, just came out. The Lost Book of the White, and the Black Volume of the Dead. And these are going to tell the story of Magnus and Alec's adventures together. So, didn't Ragnar have either the White Book or the Black Book?
Well, because what did he have that Sebastian was looking for?
It was it was either the White Book or the Black Book.
I can't remember.
I'm looking it up. Oh, hold on. I found the plot of what the Lost Book of the White is going to be about.
Okay.
It's set in 2010 after the Mortal Instruments series before the Dark Artifices trilogy. The Lost Book of the White follows Magnus and Alec as they undertake a new adventure. Their first since they became parents to Max.
Aww.
When one of Magnus's most powerful spell books is stolen, Magnus and Alec round up their friends and family for a mission to recover it. But this isn't a simple theft. Confronting friends and enemies, new and old, they discover the stakes are much higher than a missing book.
So yeah, I am predicting a return of Shin-yoon.
Yeah. Some characters set to appear aside from Magnus and Alec include Jace, Cleary, Simon, Isabel, Lily Chin, Tessa Gray, Jim Carstairs. They're gonna go to China. They're going to Shanghai. They're going to Shanghai in this next book.
What happens in Shanghai?
That's where Jem's from.
Oh. All right.
So I'm reading some spoilers.
No, stop.
I can't.
Get off the site immediately.
Oh, more daddy issues are gonna be going on in this next book.
I feel like the whole series is gonna be about daddy issues. At least Magnus's.
Yeah. Oh, baby Max is going on the adventure too. So very important.
Sorry if there was a bunch of noise right there. I apologize.
Yeah. Oh, there's some teasers on this page. Okay. But anyways, what's the Black Book gonna be about? Okay, the Black Volume of the Dead is supposed to take place between Dark Artifices and Wicked Powers.
Huh.
Uh-huh.
Dude, I cannot wait for Wicked Powers.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways. Oh, we were gonna... Ragnarfell. Hold on. Gotta look up Ragnarfell. So we can know what book he had.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna move on to love in just a second, guys. I just gotta know what book he had. Okay, let's see. Yeah, it is the Book of the White.
Okay.
So he has the Book of the White. So, is he the higher stake in book 2?
I don't know. Magnus has to find out that Ragnar's alive.
Yeah. We theorizing. Okay, so let's move on to Love, Haley.
Yay.
This is a very good book. I very much enjoyed the love in this book.
Yeah.
It definitely quenched that thirst I had for some Malik content. So on page 6, I have a quote. What is this quote that I wish to read? Magnus propped his chin on his hand. He wanted to savor this moment of Alec, starlight and possibility in Paris, and keep to look at years in the future. He hoped the memory would not hurt later.
Oh.
Sad. Page 18, I have a quote. Magnus had always been careful with mundane lovers to minimize their interaction with Downworld. For their safety and their peace of mind, he always assumed that shadow hunters would want to minimize their interaction with Downworld too. They held themselves apart, declaring themselves not mundane, but not of the Downworld either. A third thing, rather, separate and maybe even a little bit better. But Alec seemed to be glad to be here, not taken aback by any of Paris or Magnus's world. It was possible, maybe, that Alec might be as happy as Magnus was. Just to be together.
He is.
Yeah. Okay. 153. I have any other quote. Okay. Alec had never given much thought to dancing before, aside from a few awkward childhood attempts with his sister or their friend Aileen.
See, I told you.
Magnus slid his arm around Alex's waist and began to dance. Alec was no dancer, but he was a fighter. He found he intuitively understood how to respond to Magnus's movements and how to move with them. They were suddenly synchronized, gliding across the floor as gracefully as any other couple in the room, and all at once, Alec knew how it was to really dance with someone. A thing Alec had never even known to want. He'd always assumed that storybook moments like these were meant for Jace, Isabel, anyone but him. Yet here he was.
Oh, Alec.
My man, my boy, my son. Okay. Got a quote on page 187. Magnus noticed Malcolm watching them, his face white as marble. Malcolm had loved a shadow hunter. It had not ended well. Magnus had spoken to him about it once, about getting over love and living on, about finding love again. Malcolm had shaken his head. He had said, "I do not ever want another love." Magnus had thought he was being foolish. Perhaps all love sailed too close to madness. The deeper the love, the more dangerous. The boat slid on across dark waters. When Magnus looked behind him, he saw the last sparks of his magic sinking and vanishing into the depths. The sparks winked bright blue and brilliant white, the gentle ripples of the canal becoming, by turns, rich purple, pale pearl, and inky black under the not yet morning sky. The water was suffused with the final luminescence before his blue sparks drowned. Magnus slid his fingers gently through Alec's wild, soft hair and felt Alex's head turn toward him a little in his half-sleep. He heard Malcolm singing and remembered again his words from long ago. "I do not ever want another love."
Oh.
And then 271. 271. So, this is when Magnus is getting sacrificed. So, he thought about Alec. Alec, with his heartbreaking contradictions, shy and brave, relentless and tender, Alec's midnight blue eyes, the look on his face when they had their first kiss and their last. Magnus had not thought today's kiss would be their last, but nobody ever did know that when the last kiss came. He thought of Alec running up the steps of Magnus's brownstone in Brooklyn to ask him out. Alec holding on to him in a cold water, offering Magnus all his own strength. The stunning surprise of Alec's warm mouth, his sure, strong hands in the hall of his angelic ancestors. Alec shielding downworlders at the Palazzo in Venice, coming for Magnus through a cloud of demons, trying to shield Magnus through every land and at every turn. Alec choosing Magnus over the Clave every time, without hesitation. Alec turning against the laws he had always lived by to protect Magnus and to keep his secrets. Magnus had never thought he would need protecting. He had thought it would make him weak. He had been wrong. Dread died away, shaking hardly able to move, with darkness bearing down upon him. Magnus felt only gratitude for his life. He wasn't ready for death, but if it came today, he would face it with his head held high and Alexander Lightwood's name on his lips.
Oh.
You love to see it.
Before we get to the steamy stuff, I just want to, it seems to me like Magnus is like, okay, this is it for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's, like, him and Alec argue so much about that in this book, where Alec's just like, don't try to save me if we have to do stuff, try to save yourself. Like,
right.
And then Magnus is just like, I've lived long enough. You need to be saved. And it's just like, maybe you guys have some issues you need to work through. That this might come to a head in a couple months, and you might break up.
Yeah, I just feel like, I don't know. We've never really seen a lot of Magnus's other relationships, but it just seems like he's.
Well, we read the Bane Chronicles, so. But those were all horny relationships in Camille Belcourt. So, like...
Right. So, I just really like how Magnus is like, this is it for me. There's never going to be another one like Alec. And that's just very sweet to me.
Yes. I also very much enjoy about how Alec has this fear about how the fact that he's just the latest of Magnus's lovers. But for Magnus, he said his feelings are very much like, it's never been like this before.
Right. Like, this is the only one that matters now. Yeah. Well, maybe, and, like, his first love, who he mentions in this book, but...
Yeah. So, the steamy scenes, let's talk about them. Not in, like, super deep details, but, like, that post-balloon makeout with the rune kissing. Oh! Shower makeout. The shower makeout.
Yeah, that was almost too much.
It was very steamy. I was like, are they gonna fuck? Am I gonna read in detail? The dance makeout, glorious, beautiful. When they almost fuck when Shin-Yoon leaves.
Yes, I think that one was my favorite.
Yeah, because it was very horny, but they were just like, okay, no, no. And then when they finally do eventually make love, it's the classic Cassandra Clare fade away stuff, but it's still like very tender, sweet, fun,
right? Wholesome.
I also really did enjoy it as well. There was still as much detail as there is in, like, when Emma and Julian had sex.
Oh, God, yeah.
But, like, but then there wasn't, like, an over amount of detail like there is for, like, fetishistic stuff.
Dude, remember how Emma and Julian had sex, like, multiple times?
Raw. Hitting it raw.
Like, what?
On the beach?
Oh, boy.
Who? Not in this house.
No, but it was good. It was good. I liked how it was done.
Yeah. Very good. Very good love.
Good job, CC and Dubsy.
Yeah. Theme park time! Let's get on this roller coaster called Daddy Issues.
I did toot as if it was representation station. Oh my God, that's so embarrassing.
Okay, so... one of the things I find really interesting about this book is the fact that if you've been a longtime fan of Cassandra Clare, you already know Alec and Magnus's fates.
Yeah.
So we're going into this book knowing what, quote-unquote, present-day Alec and Magnus are up to. That they're both already married and have kids. They're fathers. but this is very fledgling in their relationship, and they both have different daddy issues. And it's very interesting reading it from this way, because later on we see those issues get resolved, but like as like a sideline to Jason Clary bullshit, which I'm pretty sure that these books will deal with more heavily. Like, the fact is that Magnus does not want to tell Alec who his father is. And then when Alec does in fact find out, Alec is like, okay, that doesn't change my feelings at all for you.
Right.
And then he's also kind of just like, why didn't you just tell me your dad was Asmodeus? I would have been chill with it, dog. And then there's also the fact that Alec and Robert's relationship is still not healed at this point.
Hella rocky.
Hella rocky. Like, the fact that we get a flashback where Robert tells Alec to break up with Magnus and pretend to be straight. And Alec's just like, I'm not doing that. Fuck y'all. And which is very different from the Robert we know who he becomes, where he's a proud father of his son. The fact that he has a giant tapestry of his son, one of his son's famous battles, hanging in his office.
Oh.
And like, we know that Robert Lighthood becomes a proud grandfather. Mm-hmm. Like, the fact that we know that he loves his son, that he's like, okay, I'm crying. But, like, the fact that he loves his son enough to be like, okay, you are in love with a warlock who kind of hates me. I can accept that. And I will accept the child you were adopting as my own grandchild. Like, Robert was on board with Max before Magnus was on board. So I think this is a very interesting thing about fatherhood, because we both have these two characters who, Magnus's father's literally a prince of hell. And Alec's relationship with his father is also not very good. And how that's probably going to affect them in the next Eldest Curse books when they are fathers with Max.
Right.
There's also was this line, I didn't grab it, where it's after Alec is hurt and he's like waking up, and Magnus remembers what it was like the second time he ever met Alec, about how he healed him, and that Alec reached out with such a surety that said so much about him, that his whole life he'd had someone there who loved him. Mm-hmm. Which Magnus did not, which I think is a very interesting dynamic that I don't think it's ever been really explored with them. So
yeah,
I'm very
also,
excited.
Like, not to mention daddy issues with like the fact that his stepfather tried to kill him.
Yeah,
and then he killed him, and so like killing your only father figure because he fucking hated you and tried to murder you.
Yeah. There's also, like, the fact that I really enjoyed how Alec was like, you can tell me about it, or you don't have to. And Magnus was like, no, I want to tell you about it.
Right.
Healthy. Good.
And then also, not to mention Shin Yun's daddy issues, where she thinks that Asmodeus is her father, and because she had no one else to accept her, it's kind of like, no, I was going to say something kind of mean about religion. Anyway, so that's also not healthy. Not healthy.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see if this theme of fatherhood continues on, especially with what we know about the Lost Book of the White,
right?
And how it's going to be more focused on Magnus and Alec with their adventures, and then the fact that they're adopting Max, who please can someone have shown, we do have hope for accurate baby depictions because Wesley Chu has a child, so like we out here hoping we get accurate baby descriptions.
I'm sure we will,
because I'm still not over her trying to say that Max was 2 and was down to be held like a baby.
It wasn't happening, and
was promptly okay with a bunch of strangers. Like, yikes. Sometimes my nephew, who's turning 1 in a week, gives me a look, and I'm just like, okay, I can't interact with this child.
It's not the time.
My other nephew, who's turning 4 soon, scratched the hell out of my hand this week just for the fun of it. So, like, little boys are demons.
Yeah, they truly are.
Yeah. Okay. Did you have a theme that wasn't daddy issues?
I feel like, oh dear, my phone's gonna die. Hurry. I just feel like, there was like a theme of like acceptance where like Alec is coming to terms, is like accepting his own sexuality. Magnus is accepting his past mistakes.
Yeah.
Shin Yoon can't really think of what she's accepting. And then I also feel like Helen and Aline are both also figuring out their own sexualities, which we can maybe touch on in Rep Stage, but
yeah.
But yeah, I feel like that is where I was going with that.
Yeah. So, yeah, let's talk about Representation Station. This whole book is just full of gay characters.
Yeah.
But I wanted to specifically talk about this moment from page 140. So basically, Lily Chin's hitting on Alec. No, not Lily Chin. Who's hitting on him? A fairy lady. Anyways. I am gay, Alec said. He was not used to saying that casually to any random person. It was strange to say it and feel both relief and a shadow of his old fear twinned together. Of course, the declaration might not mean much to fairies. The fairy woman accepted it with a shrug, then looked over at Raphael and lit up. Something about the leather jacket or the scowl seemed to appeal to her strongly. What about you, vampire without a cause? I'm not gay, said Raphael. I'm not straight. I'm not interested. Your sexuality is not interested? Alec asked curiously. Raphael said, that's right. Confirmed, Ace Raphael. Finally happened, boys. Finally fucking happened.
You love to see it.
You love to see it.
I'm not interested.
Sexuality is not interested.
I think he's probably also Arrow Ace.
Yeah, probably.
Asexual.
Yeah.
You love to see it.
You love to see it. But I really did enjoy how Leon was bi. That was just in there. Helen's bi. Aileen's just like, I kissed Jace because I was going through some stuff. I know I'm gay now, though.
Yeah, Aileen definitely just really just gay.
Yeah.
I also liked, I don't feel like it was established before that Alec is gay. I didn't, like...
Yeah, it never actually said the words Alec is gay.
Like, it never said, like, Alec is just interested in men.
Yeah.
But,
it was heavily implied, but... And then also the fact that Alec was just, like... He was coming to terms with the new world's bisexual and pansexual, because he knew Magnus wasn't just gay. Yeah. I think it's very interesting. I really enjoy it. That's all the representation I had.
Yeah, I liked, it didn't seem forced.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't seem like forced representation.
Yeah, I think that's the Wesley Chu coming through who's telling Cassandra Clare, knock it off! Because she really do have that problem where she's just like, this is diverse. And we're just like, stop telling us it's diverse. We know.
Right. All right.
Does it hold up? Like, the one thing that doesn't is the fact that Alec has to read a map and not, like, GPS it.
Right.
So, one of the things I really wanted to talk about was the acknowledgement section of this book. I'm going to read Cassandra Clare's entire acknowledgement at the very end.
Okay.
It's not that long. But I think it does provide some insight. So, Alec Lightwood first took shape in my mind in 2004. A boy in frangible old sweaters with holes in the cuffs, with angry blue eyes and a vulnerable soul. Magnus exploded into my heart not long after, all outsized personality and carefully guarded emotions. And I knew they were perfect for each other. The Shadow Hunter and the Downworlder. The Warlock and the Archer Boy. When I was a teen, LGBTQ plus representation in young adult lit novels was something found largely on the pages of problem novels, when it was found at all. My gay, lesbian, and bisexual friends searched in vain for representations of themselves in the kind of books they liked to read. Swashbuckling fantasy adventures. When I set about to write the Shadowhunter books, including Alec and Magnus, was something I did because I loved their characters and thought they belonged in a swashbuckling fantasy adventure. The pushback from schools, from book fairs, from stores that didn't want to carry the books about because of them, the marking out by media watchdog sites who noted the presence of gay characters as sexual content, though they had not even kissed, shocked and sobered me. Just as the groundswell of support from the LGBTQ plus readers made me more determined to tell their story. There were challenges. I tried to maintain a balance in which Magnus and Alec were always present in the books, always human and relatable, always heroes, without pushing past what was considered acceptable content, and resulting in a situation that would keep the books off the shelves of bookstores and libraries so that kids who most needed to read about characters like Alec and Magnus would still be able to find them. But I itched to do more. The writing and publication of the Bane Chronicles in 2014 was a shot across the bow, a book unapologetically about Magnus, his life and loves of both genders, and his eventual commitment to Alec. It did modestly well enough for me to feel like the time had come to do something I'd always wanted, and tell a swashbuckling romance fantasy story in which Magnus and Alec were the protagonists. I'd already left a gap for that story to take place. The vacation Magnus and Alec take during City of Fallen Angels, during which their relationship clearly deepened in seriousness. We knew they rocked across Europe. What exactly happened? This book aims to tell that story. So thank you to my friends and family who supported me during the writing process, and to my publisher for taking a chance, to my editor and agent, and to my co-writer, Wesley Chu. And thanks above all to Alec and Magnus, and to those who've loved and supported them over the years. In 2015, a Texan librarian took one of my co-writers aside at a convention and told her that the Bane Chronicles was the only LGBTQ plus led book she was allowed to have in her library. All others were ruled out as inappropriate. But as kids who were Shadowhunters fans persistently asked her parents for the book, she was told she could make an exception. Thank you above all to the kids who asked, and to that librarian, and all other librarians, teachers, and booksellers who get the right books into the right hands. Let us hope for a world in which someday everyone knows that LGBTQ-led books are not only appropriate, but necessary.
Oh, I'm crying.
So, that did change my mind in a little bit about Malik and their representation, because that was one of her big critiques, I feel like, in the original Mortal Instruments books, about how they were there, but they weren't.
Right. About how, it didn't really, now it makes a lot of, them being together makes a lot of sense to me, but, before, I really didn't see it.
Yeah.
But that makes sense why she really couldn't do that.
Yeah. Especially because, even, how they were in the first book, I know people were pissed about that because it came out in 2005.
Right.
And so, just, I don't know, it does change my opinion about them, about how now in 2020 we can sit and say that 15 years ago that was bad representation then, and it is now. But at the same time, it's one of those things where I feel like the Mortal Instruments were some of the first books I read where there were queer characters whose entire thing wasn't them being queer.
Right.
Because, a lot of times those soapy teen dramas, there's a character who's queer, and that's who their entire character is just about that.
Right.
Well, for Alec and Magnus, they were other things. And it is very annoying how much of a back seat that took. But I can understand why. I'm not a fan of it.
It was progress at the time.
Yeah. This is a dead horse we've beaten many times.
Right.
But I am very happy that this book came out. This is a very good book. I do like it. I do like how she was just this was kind of planned that I wanted to do something like this with these two for a long time. So I left myself a hole because we did have a big complaint about that. Where were they?
Where were they?
Yeah.
And now we know. And now all is well.
Yes. And also, we do complain about that, but then we do have the gloriousness that is the Dark Artifices, that has a polyamorous throuple, that has blatantly queer characters, that we have Helen and Eileen Blackthorn, that we have, that next week in a couple weeks we're gonna be reading about queer Victorian girls. Like, that makes me very excited.
You love to see it.
You'll love to see it. And it's just, I definitely do see how far not only Cassandra Clare as an author has come, but how far we've come where it's just like, yeah, these characters are queer. Like, the majority of the characters we dealt with in this book were queer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Alec, Magnus, Helen, Aline, Leon, Raphael. Like...
Right.
So,
every single fairy that existed.
Yeah. Lily Chen, like...
For sure.
There's just... I feel like this is... This was like a good soothe for my soul, you know?
Right.
As someone who's very much... I read a lot of queer-focused fiction, and I really like reading books that are queer. It never once felt forced, you know?
Right. I agree.
And maybe you and I are in a privileged positions where we know a lot of queer people.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, having a lot of queer characters was like, yeah, that's normal.
Right.
If you know one queer person, they know at least 5 other.
Right. I do feel like some people might read this or The Dark Artifices and be like, wow, like, this isn't what real life is like. And it's like,
but
well,
it is.
It kind of is. Yeah, like... Yeah.
Like, I don't think in my friend group, straighties are in the minority.
Straighties.
Straighties be in the minority. Hets, get out. Just kidding.
So, yeah.
But, yeah, so I really did enjoy this book, and reading the acknowledgement section did change my mind about some stuff I've said before in this podcast, so don't come for me.
Yeah, I want to make a formal apology to Cassandra Clare.
No. We're not issuing formal apologies.
To anyone or just not to Cassandra Clare?
Anyone. Cassandra Clare did make us ship incest for 3 books, so don't even come for me.
Yeah, what the heck? You're right. I take back what I said. Cut it out from the podcast.
No. But, yeah, I'm very excited to see where the rest of this book series goes. Very excited for more Malik books. It's just, you know, it's all good. All good in the hood. It's an exciting time. Yeah. Next week... Oh, let's finish this up. Rate that book. A 10. This is a 10.
Yeah, 10 for me.
At minimum, 9.5. Could have been longer. Could have been sexier. How believable was the magic? We been new.
Yeah, nothing new here.
What? Let me count how many books are on the back of my page. This is book, 13? I think I know what's going on. Actually, no, this isn't even book 13. There's the Mortal Instruments book, 6. Infernal Devices, that's 3, so 9. Plus Dark Artifices, that's 3, 12. And then we've read the Bane Chronicles, that is 13. Then we've read Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy, that's 14. This is book 15.
Boy, oh boy.
And then there's 8 more books coming out.
Oh my god. I feel like it's getting to a point where it's, like, impenetrable to anyone who hasn't, like, didn't grow up reading them, you know?
That's why we read them the way we have. So, like, imagine trying to navigate the Mortal Instruments and the Infernal Devices without my reading schedule I made us do last year.
Yeah, no, that was perfect.
Yeah. But, yeah. Okay,
right.
Next week, we are reading Ghosts of the Shadow Market. We are very excited. Haley's read a lot of it. I haven't read any of them. We're going to do our volleying thing that we do for the anthologies.
Woo, woo, woo.
Then after that, it's Chain of Gold, which comes out, if you're listening to the day the podcast comes out, that comes out today.
I'm going to go buy it.
Me too. Very excited to read that. Very excited. I just remember we're going to have to read about Tessa and Will as parents.
I know, dude. It's going to be awful. It's really awful. I've read that one. It's awful. All right.
Well, Chain of Gold's about their kids. Oh,
yeah,
God.
Yep.
And there's probably going to be sad gem stuff in there, too.
All right. We have to just wait till we get to it. I've got to go.
Wait, hold on. Would we let our middle school selves read this book? Yes, definitely. 100%. Read the book.
Read more gay books.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
You know where to find us on social media. We majored in English for this. Check us out. Follow us. Retweet us. Last week we shouted out a fan. I would like to shout out a good friend of the podcast, Haley. You know who that good friend of the podcast is?
I think so, but I don't want to say the wrong person and, like, offend someone.
Bridget Ackerman is a good friend of the podcast.
Love you, Bridget. You're the
Bridget
best.
likes every single thing we post. Twice. Bridget listens every week. I know for the fact Bridget does not read any of these books, but she be listening.
The best. We love that support.
Do you want to shout someone out?
We've actually been getting quite a few comments, but my phone's gonna die, so I can't.
On Instagram, yeah.
Bridget's the best.
We love Bridget. We love Bridget. Yeah. Okay, anyways, yeah, I'm gonna go make some dinner.
Me too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.